So now, Sebastian returns to moderate a panel of Web3 security, expecting myths busted, tools shared, and systematic risk dissection.
Hello, I'm Mario, security researcher, and I've been in security for a long time, doing Web3 for about 5, 6, 7, I don't know, years. Currently, I'm a LSR at Cantina, and I'm working with a lot of Rust, EVM, Web2, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Vlad. I do EVM security at Jelich. And before I've been working as a pen tester and a web security researcher.
Hi, I'm Noah. So we're all security researchers. So hi, I'm Noah, and I play Mando cello. Everything else is the same for everyone, believe me.
I have my own mic. Hi, I'm Abba. I'm Aline, also known as Abba in the industry. Independent security researcher, combined like 10 years, both Web2 and Web3 security. I'm in it for the fun.
Awesome. Now we can have some fun. Like I was nervous during my previous talk, but now I'm gonna put some pressure on these guys. No, I'm just kidding. Like they already have the questions. So guys, what's the biggest security misconception that developers have when building Ethereum dApps? And particularly, which are the misconceptions that are not on every checklist?
Well, for those who were at my talk, the biggest misconception is actually that the Web2 part doesn't matter so much, and they all focus on the Web3 because, especially on the smart contracts, because they are somehow immutable. But if you look past a few years, most of the biggest hacks happen due to Web2 vulnerabilities. So yeah, I think that's unfortunately I have to repeat it all over when I speak about security. But unfortunately, it's still the biggest attack vector. So yeah, that's one thing I want to mention.
So we see a recurring pattern usually in very inexperienced developers. And it's a concept that I would just summarize to developers expect their application to be used in a very specific order because they do the routing from their web app to their to their contracts. And so they don't expect that the application can be used outside their defined routes within the front end. And you can observe that because sometimes they're like, oh, wait, but who's going to call it? Like, who's going to call the function in a different way that we thought of it to be possible? And you do find a lot of bugs that are like that. And generally, when you do find a bug like that, you're like, oh, fuck, these guys are like beginners. There's an obvious mistake here. And I think that a lot of, especially new developers, consider that, hey, the chain works as a backend. It doesn't work as a backend. It works as a stateless machine. It doesn't have, I mean, it is, a machine that has state, but it doesn't work like always through the same routes as, your usual backend would. And I think that's a very common misconception.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a state machine in the way that, a game engine state machine would be with defined decision trees. It's very loose. Okay, yeah, for me, I'm going to say thinking that you find bugs with bug bounties, white hat hackers, and audits, and not at your design step, which you didn't have. Like in general, I see a lot of just faulty configurations, and just from the get-go. And I think my worst one was a particular audit where we managed to find over 150 issues before they made us stop. And I've had a lot of audits for very bad projects where I feel like I killed the project because they couldn't get past the audit stage. Then they fire their dev team, then they go back to the drawing board. And the thing is, they're already like a few 100K deep, especially with the expensive audit, and they have nothing because they made the mistake of not having a security engineer who could have told them this is shit, at the design step, which would have saved them a ton of money and hurt their ego a little bit. So yeah.
Going back to the original question, what Web2 misconceptions do developers have when coming in Web3? What I'm going to say is a bit including all of them. There is a misconception that if you are a very, very good Web2 developer, someone that had 10 years in Java, AVS, serverless, whatever, then they have the very wrong misconception that they will actually be good Web3 devs. They will not be. Then if you just take a good Web2 dev and put him at Web3, he will fail because he fails to understand the entire ecosystem is unique in its way of operating as a financial layer, as issues. They don't even, imagine explaining rent and explaining blockchain reorgs to a normal dev. They don't even have the knowledge to understand that. It's not on a checklist because basically it's generic.
Oh, those are really good points. I think like definitely you guys skip the checklists. For the second question, we're going to switch it up. Vlad is going to go first, Noah, and we're going to end with Mario. What security tooling, practical security tooling, or even like processes, methodologies, should developers integrate into their process in order to be, secure from the beginning, or have less than 150 findings per audit? What do you guys recommend?
So I'll probably give the boring answer here, but I think after a few years of doing EVM especially, I think that if you just have basic testing, 100% coverage, both positive and negative test cases, you will probably get rid of most of the bugs that a decent amount of auditors would have found. And if you say, okay, test coverage, whatever, you can start to think of like invariant testing, defining your very specific contract level or code base level or architecture level invariants and testing based on that. But I honestly wouldn't recommend looking into crazy tools because you probably won't even know how to use them if you don't even have a testing suite in the first place. And most probably you will benefit the most from just investing a lot of time in developing your testing suite and making sure it's covering all the possible cases that you can come up with, and potentially ask security researchers questions about what type of invariants you should define and stuff like that. So just focusing on a testing suite would probably eradicate most of the bugs, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's very good, and it's also very nice homework or something that you can delegate to more junior team members, and of course review by the more senior guys in case they're writing shoddy tests. Also, it really is a massive improvement. Like for me, just seeing test coverage was always a massive boon. Another thing that you can do is, if you want to save money, is use mutation testing. There's a really nice tool written by an Italian researcher lady, and it really helps you find if your tests are even good, because you can find very flaky tests.
Tell us who.
I forgot the name. I cannot.
Is it Sumo from Morena?
Yeah.
Sumo. Okay.
Yeah, but I couldn't remember the name. Sorry. Like the person name. Okay. So something else that would be good to add to a flow. Yeah, I'm still on the same thing from the last question. Honestly, you need a security engineer in your design step. Please. You really need that. It's so cheap. We will talk to you for free. You just need to buy us 2 drinks and we will tell you how much you suck. And that's value. And it's very cheap value. Or go to a security event or something and just buy someone drinks and just leave your ego aside. It's going to provide so much value. Also, do know what you're building. Like, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people at this event and any room that are going to just be trying to follow a hype cycle. But you need to know what you're doing. If you don't, maybe find something else. Because I love the great open ethos of everyone can build on blockchain, but would you trust everyone, including that neighbor of yours that keeps their yard very, very messy, to run a bank? Because it's the equivalent of connecting a bank to a Turing machine, and that's considered ill-advised, you know? If you've not heard of stored procedures, you should maybe not be working on banking software. And most of this is banking software, in a way. So yeah, have a skill, you know, minimum for doing financial applications, but I cannot save you.
You can feel the pain is in eyes. My idea is similar, somewhat similar with everyone, with what everyone said. I want to add this one. Usually you see tests. What I would really want to see from the start, which people kind of don't really add, is invariance and fuzz tests. Protocols think of fuzz tests like complicated, define invariants. They do sometimes make a lot of normal tests. They have even 100% coverage, but they don't touch the fuzz test because it sounds fancy. It's literally something that they should add. That's my opinion. They should add those as soon as possible. Make a test and a fuzz test. If you just wait until the entire protocol is done, you will not that helpful.
Do you have any specific fuzzing tools that you would suggest?
Even Foundry is enough. I mean, they don't actually need to complicate. Okay, they can use Recon, Medusa, Echidna, but those are fancy words, Foundry. It's literally just you're already using it. Make it as easy as possible. Use what's easiest for you just created.
Awesome. Do you want to add something?
Yeah. I think I have a controversial answer. Use LLMs. I mean, LLMs, like AI. Man, I had a client, like in December, 2024. Awful code, lots of criticals, whatever. And then he came back after 3 months, and I was surprised. How, did you hire a new team, or what happened? And he said, no, I started to ask Claude everything I've done. And basically that helped me write better code. And unfortunately, it's true. AI is becoming more and more intelligent, and start using it in your day-to-day flow. Not trust it, but at least it's like a colleague, like a peer reviewer right now for you. And that should be the first step in everything that you program right now, because at least AI can just tell you, hey, you forgot, are you sure you want to make this function open to everyone? Because you withdraw some funds from it. Are you sure? And at least you think about it, like, wait, should I make it? Oh, wait, no. And that's it. That's a critical, that it got out of your way, right? Yeah, so start using LLMs, but the smart way. Unfortunately, there will be guys who will just put a prompt into the LLM and then deploy the code, but there will always be some more for us, fortunately. But yeah, I mean.
About the LLMs, but I of course I use LLMs for coding assistant in a similar way, but again, when we're talking about stuff where you don't know enough necessarily, I've had a lot of experiences when I'm trying to talk to an LLM, and I find myself arguing with a stupid toddler. And I know I'm right, and here it is trying to hallucinate its logic into being, whatever it hooked onto. So watch out. It will hallucinate. It will gaslight you. It is an emotionally manipulative prick, My last good conversation was about an hour of talking how to prove some integral, and it was just skipping a step. And I spent such a long time just convincing that it's wrong, that I was going crazy in my own head, So watch out. Do not trust them. Do not trust the faceless monster.
While I agree with that, you also have to think that if you look a year ago, ChatGPT versus a year now, the difference is huge, right? So yeah, don't trust everything they say, but at least use them for basic stuff. Yeah. they will derail a lot from what they should do. But if you have a bit of critical mind and you question everything it responds to you, you will see that you will get better and better and better over time. And they will get anyhow better and better every time. I mean, it's amazing what they do on Web2. If you ever try to like do some pen testing with LLM, it's quite nice.
Yeah, this brings back the memory from the ETH Bucharest panel where we talked about vibe coding, right? I guess like there's a point. I think both of you guys are right. If your devs are below Claude level, then use Claude. If they're above Claude level, then don't use it. Or yeah, basically, or use it, but don't trust everything they say, right? It's a toddler. LLMs are a toddler. Claude is a toddler. If anyone was wondering how old Claude is, it's a toddler. All right, so let's go to the next question, which is, I guess also for anyone in the audience who's an end user. I mean, like the answers are going to be useful for everyone. We just saw this Pectra upgrade in May, and it brought a lot of risks with it. So, many end users were totally unaware of EIP 7702. If they didn't go to any crypto conference or they didn't watch any talks about it, it took them by surprise. They just got a message, hey, here's an airdrop. They signed it, and their wallet got drained. So just like that. How can both developers and end users keep up with all of these new risks that emerge when you have like an upgrade like Pectra or any other upgrades in the future? What should they follow in terms of resources? I know Noah just mentioned just talk to a security engineer, right? But security engineers are not on all of the in all the bars. So if you guys have any resources that you could point or any best practices that users, developers can do, and maybe even like how auditors should play a role in this whole thing. And let's start with Noah this time.
So this is really a question of security awareness trainings and briefings for the general populace. And that cannot ever come from a small circle of security engineers with limited reach. It has to come through mainstream tooling. So I think this is a thing where MetaMask, for example, being the top wallet, should be pushing more education, pushing more protections for user, or maybe limiting feature supports and keeping them behind locked doors and behind check marks to make sure that users will not use advanced features in stupid ways. Like, sudo exists, right, on Linux. And I think it should be the same level of severity for anything more advanced. My talk yesterday was, in a way, a security briefing. It was trying to get people paranoid and conscious about the topic. But this is limited. It's a limited approach. You cannot actually make a lasting impact. And there was a lady at my talk a few weeks ago, and we talked about the recent emerging threats, including, for example, deepfakes. And then she got hacked. And she got hacked because somebody used a deepfake to social engineer her. So, nothing's a guarantee. And thus I think that from the institutional level, from that point, we need to assume that users are toddlers, stupid, they don't know what they're doing, they like simplicity, and we should focus on the thing that's more or less completely ignored in a system designed by engineers under the fallacy that, I can use Linux and I know how to configure, permissions in Linux, and I know how to set up RAID 0 on my disk. So the average person surely knows at least how to install an operating system, and not that they are struggling to turn on the microwave, right? So I think we need to think how dumb. Let's not offend them. Let's not call them dumb. This is actually stupid. We need empathy here. They're just not thinking about that. I would love to just run around in the grass and not touch a computer ever. I think many people here would. And then I would have to know nothing about Linux and nothing about any technical topic, and I would breathe in the trees and be happy, right? And I think it should be the same approach. Assume that we have these happy people that just want to do stuff and ignore computers because computers are a necessary evil to them, and that's real. And let's just try to keep them safe by limiting what they can do, by keeping features that may be dangerous locked behind certain barriers within, let's say, mainstream wallet architecture. Pseudo for crypto.
Okay. Coming back a bit to the question, was it specific how would user get a better feel of threats that appeared with Pectra, and Seb mentioned 7701 AIP. That's the one that mentions that normal wallet addresses can now have code. So an external account now can have code. This is the big difference. But I do need to answer this question like they did, because I don't feel that there is a way you can have. How would normal people get any information about any security that not just Spectra, not just AIP 7701 or whatever random digit they assigned? So I would say they need to follow newsletters and content tailored for the masses. And the follow-up question that you ask, how auditors can help. Simple. Just make content. Every audit, content is gold. For marketing purposes, as an auditor, you show that you know stuff. People read it. You make a good for the environment and ecosystem and yourself. And there are resources like BlockThread, who just collects random threads, information, articles, and spread them. Concrete action. Subscribe to BlockThread, read whatever is there, and it's still better than 90%. Follow crypto Twitter, follow random security companies, get a list, it's enough, at least for starters.
I mean, there is no easy way to teach anyone like the upgrades and so on and so forth. I think my colleagues, I had like very good points. If you're in this space, it moves so fast. You have to. You are terminally online, and you have to be. Thankfully, we also get like some nice decisions sometimes at the core level. For example, EOF was not released in this Spectra upgrade. Thankfully, that was a big mess as well. So, we're trying to. It's always a challenge. You want to evolve technologically, but you also want to not introduce new stuff that are dangerous. And the balance, it's tough to see where is that balance. So yeah, other than just documenting yourself, as my colleagues also said, they're writing a lot of content for those who like to write content. It's also nice, but yeah, I don't think there is like a nice solution other than just staying up to date.
Yeah, my colleagues made some very good points, but I would add that I think coming from if we think about it from the retailer's perspective, most retail users use some kind of wallet, right? And so I think it could be also the wallet responsibility as well as the protocols that want to leverage those like extra features of Pectra. To actually define some whitelists or some mechanisms that would not allow any user to essentially perform remote code execution on their entire wallet, or essentially have, as you said, pseudo privileges on their wallet by just like the click of a button. Obviously, the mechanism itself allows for a lot of innovation, as Mario also said, but you need to think about it. There's no backups. What do you do in case you get like you get a phishing link and you click a random link and then now your wallet is wiped out. Your entire balance is wiped out, right? MetaMask could come up with solutions here, and I think we will see eventually the wallet providers being more involved in terms of taking more decisive action and kind of like protecting the users, and the users will have to agree to a certain kind of protection, because otherwise, maybe if you're a ledger user and you're signing all your transactions by yourself or whatever, you take the risks. But otherwise, I think most users don't want the possibility of their wallet being wiped out as a non-zero risk, essentially. And yeah.
So we're all doomed. I guess I was expecting everyone to answer, you should follow my blog or my podcast, or you should watch my video on YouTube about how I present stuff. Just follow, click and subscribe. But no, everyone was like, oh no, we're doomed. We're doomed. I was thinking maybe someone's gonna say, oh, you know what? The wallets should basically, whenever there's an upgrade and people don't know about it, the wallet should say, oh, wait, you haven't used this upgrade yet, so you need to take a mandatory security awareness training before we allow you to do the next transaction. And if you don't pass, you don't get to do any transactions. No, that's ridiculous, but I wanted to throw that fun one in. So for the next question, it's a bit more spicy. I hope no one in the room takes offense or no one was involved or whatever, but there was this recent, I wanted to talk about it because it's a recent thing that happened on crypto Twitter. There was this debacle with, I don't know if I should name the name of the company, but you guys know it.
I will.
Okay, you will. But basically there was this debacle with an audit contest, right? And apparently the company who paid for the audit contest wasn't aware of all the rules of that audit contest. And when it came to the time to pay all the security researchers who put the effort into finding bugs, they were like iffy. And it took a while. I don't even know how resolved it is at this point, but it took a while until the project formulated an answer. There was a bit of back and forth. And, I think those kind of things, we see them, not that often, but I wonder, with these conditional pots happening with contests nowadays, are researchers going to be, I don't want to use a swear word, but will they be, sort of
Unloved?
Unloved, yeah. And are there sufficient, super talented researchers looking at these conditional pot contests? Or, I loved the idea of contests when there were no conditional pots, and now it's a bit different. So I was wondering what your take is on that. Let's start with Abba.
There are two questions here, and it's going to be a lot of talking, but I like talking. The first one was regarding the debacle. It was between a protocol called Spectra Finance and the bug bounty platform called Immunify. It's not secret information. It's on Twitter. I mean, if it were, I would say that I would not say it. Basically, the issue was there is a such thing called conditional pot contests and full pot contests. Basically, at the start of a contest where anyone can participate and secure the protocol, they say, I'm going to give you $40,000 if any issue is found. But there is also a differentiate, the conditional pot. I'll give you $10,000 if low severity is found, 15 is medium severity find, issues is found. Severe, the more important, the more severe the issue, the more money is allocated. Okay, these are part of the second question, and they are more frequent. In this case, the company that started the contest, Spectra, said that they misunderstood the protocol, contact, and description, and they thought it was a conditional pot contest, while the hosting platform clearly stated that it wasn't. And I'm saying clearly stated because I literally researched it. We had the questions beforehand. And you have specifically mentioned, hey, any issue found, full pot. Now, why would they do this? I was thinking about from a point of incentives, probably money. The idea is They didn't want to pay, in my personal opinion, I don't think they actually wanted to pay the full amount because I read the description of the contents and it's like literally the second line of the entire page says, if any issue is found, you will pay full amount. And they had like 3 weeks, they declared 3 weeks, we looked at the description, signed the contract, no issues found. Now, there was a back and forth, some panic, some discussions, and the very respectable security contest that held this contest said, okay, we're not dedicating more time to it, dealt with pay, they have defined what happened. Immunify is gonna pay, and the Spectra Finance basically got a free audit. Now, that, I don't think they did a good thing. But coming back to your question, why did they did it? I think they did it for the money. Coming back to the conditional pot versus the full pot. Both are tools that will exist now and forever. The conditional pot has a marketing effect that is used up to 1 mil. It's like you can, like we're using now in marketing, you win $10 million up to somewhere at the bottom. And that's a good marketing, 10 million, but actually win like 5. It does help, and I think they will stay. And one thing that I want to add is that conditional pots are very good for large blockchain contests. So if you look at statistics and the distribution of money and how many people actually got it, if you have a blockchain protocol like, I don't know, the Ethereum itself or whatever, Stacks blockchain, whatever, if they have conditional pots, they usually are reached and paid. Those are good ROI. Do them. The other ones are not necessarily that good ROI, but whatever. They will exist, they're marketing gimmick. They also help in their way, each to their own.
Yeah. Oh, this is a drama. Everyone likes drama, of course. I mean, come on, security researchers are paid a lot, so it's unsustainable to pay us that much money over all the projects if VCs and everyone does not allocate a budget for security. It's impossible for a new startup, which most of these products are startups, right? To have a very full security if VCs don't raise money for the security itself. I'm not saying we don't deserve those money. We do, because sometimes we guard TVLs worth of billions, and we have to be paid very well so we don't screw up. But unfortunately, conditional pots, it's a tool that should be used by any big protocol that has a lot of money to pay as well, of course. Because first, it can be used as incentive for the developers. You have no critical in your code, you get a bonus. And where do I get that bonus from? Well, from the competition results, because I did not pay the 1 million or 2 million or whatever critical. Second, the good security researchers, when they have a high payout, they look a lot on the code. And they start looking at the code more thoroughly and so on and so forth. If I have a competition that pays 50K versus a competition that I may have 10% or 5% chance to win or a million, I will for sure look at the 1 million one. Because why? Because I have the funds to live 2-3 months, whatever, and not earn anything, and have the chance to win a million versus just win 10% or whatever out of 50K. So yeah, conditional pots, I don't have anything against it. It's a good tool, and should be used because it drives more incentives. And if you look a bit, I know there is a lot of drama saying, okay, people doing statistics, so how much you paid if you didn't do a conditional pot, whatever, and the researchers will get paid more. But well, again, it's unsustainable for all the protocols, and you can see, especially in the bear market, the competitions, the payouts for the competitions are super low, and it's impossible for some protocols to pay for high security. at least they may have a high chance to not pay that that amount. That's a chance.
So obviously we are all here security researchers, and we gotta be honest. It's simply an incentive game. If there's a, as you said, a 50K conditional pool, and there's a 60K or even 40K non-conditional pool, which one would you choose? Because after all, you're spending a lot of time on the code, and maybe you're not finding anything, but the time is still spent. That doesn't mean you didn't work, so you should still technically be paid. And I think the conditional, from an incentive point of view, the conditional pods are broken, largely because, as I said, you're still spending time. So for researchers that value their time in terms of, hey, I have a few options, which one do I go, right? I don't have 40 hours in a day. I have to spend some time, maybe, earn my living. Which one do I choose? Do I choose one that maybe pays me, even though I'm paying with my time to actually find something? Or do I try to spend the same amount of time somewhere else where I'm most probably be guaranteed to be paid if I do find something? So it depends on the perspective of each security researchers, and I think depending on your current status, if you're working somewhere or if you're doing freelancing or if you're doing bug bounty, depends on your mindset, as you said, depending on having disposable income for a few months. But I do think the incentives are broken for conditional spots specifically because you're still spending time, and time is value. And in terms of security research, even if you do a contest where nobody found anything, that says something about your code. You don't have to be, very, I don't know how to say it, but you don't have to be like very specific and say like, oh yeah, you didn't find anything, you don't get paid. Well, maybe it's a good thing they didn't find anything. Maybe your code is very good. And I think that's also one of the strange expectations that some protocols have when you're doing audits, right? They're like, oh, you didn't find anything? Well, yeah, your code is good, right? Like, that's what you expect. Your code has to be good. You want to deploy. That's a good, sometimes it's a good sign, sometimes it's not. Maybe you miss something. But generally, assuming that the code is fine and you also didn't find anything, auditors still spend time on it. They have to be paid. They're not slaves. They don't work for air. So, yeah, I think it's simply an incentive game. Depends on how you play it.
I agree fully. Okay, I'd just like to take the time to play devil's advocate for a minute here for Spectra. Not to make enemies, just to add a little bit of more clarity to wrap it up. So, okay, it's a bear market. It's better to not spend money than to spend money, right? And if you can get out of paying the full price of 40K for 2 medium issues that were found during the bug bounty, that's a net positive for a company. That's maybe a few months of development time that you can put in, right? And in this case, it seems like there was also some confusion and misunderstanding, to keep it clear, because there was a conditional pod for 40K for issues found, but I looked at the actual website, and on that you see the conditional 40K is split into 4 different categories. 25%, it's visually presented, into low, medium, high, and critical. And their rationale was that since only 2 medium issues were found, that the split of the 40K should be applied only for the 2 medium issues. So there should be 10K distributed for the medium issues, which Spectra suggested be raised to 15K since none of the other categories had any issues found. So it feels like it is not no black and white situation, because there were really only 2 medium issues found, and for 2 medium issues, like the 15K of the pot, which was a significant percentage, were nice. It was just not made clear whether, in case the other issue categories were not found, whether any of this would be mixed into other parts of the pot, right?
It was literally written, the second line. What you're mentioning is a bit down. Like, it's like saying in a contract, if amendment 1 says full, but the added amendment second is literally the second. If you open the side, the second line. It was what they were mentioning, but it's like a bit, you need to scroll down, and like the second line, when you literally open the contest page, says, if any valid issues and finding full pot is given. Initially, I thought like that, and I was agreeing with Spectre, but dude, the literally second line says, if any, then full pot. And that distribution is for the SRs themselves. It's the second line, I mean.
So you're of the opinion that in this case the severity level distribution should be merged. So in case there were, like, let's say, medium and critical issues found, then the other two pots should be distributed between those.
For the researchers that found them, yes. Okay. That was the point. Not for the protocol itself, it had like... Not yours. Don't get me wrong, that Spectre, the protocol is okay, I get that what they're existing for a while, good protocol probably for it to be used. But you had a contract, they have an agreement. First, it's like you have a contract which had 7 amendments and the 6th amendment modifies the 2nd. Does that mean that...
Wait, did they publish the actual contract with Immunify?
No, and of course they can't. You can't publish a legal document. No, they can't. It's a legal document.
It's a legal document, but it's not a secret.
Actually, it is. Have you ever seen the public documents, the contracts between Open Zeppelin and any other competition, like each paragraph, exactly everything? No, of course.
But I've seen plenty of documents like that.
Unofficially, no one's actually sharing them. You can't share them.
Okay.
Okay. But okay, the idea is that it's subjective.
Okay.
I just wanted to add something, like, you know, that this conditional, if I may say, pod thing is not actually, I mean, it first started on bounties. I mean, if you look at bounties, like you have, I think Layer 0 was the first one who is like, we have 10 million bounties, like the biggest bounty on Immunify. But you look at all the conditions that happens, it's like 0.00001% to get that 10 million. It's a marketing scheme, but there is also incentive because I spoke with a lot of researchers saying that, oh, no, I'm looking at this. Even though I may not find the 10 million, but I may find something that pays me a good chunk of that 10 million. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's somehow a marketing scheme, but it pays off for both researchers and also for protocol. If you look at how much money some of these like conditional pot competitions paid, I mean, it's a lot. Like Story paid $1 million, Ethereum Foundation paid $1 million. So there are like lots of money, I mean, to be paid off.
Yes, indeed. I was wondering who's going to mention like these conditional pod audit competitions or like live bug bounties, basically, in the end. Yeah. Yep. Cool. So this got a bit spicy as expected. Let's move on to the last question I had on my roster, and then we can answer the one from the audience. So, you know, we as auditors, we typically look at smart contracts, but I wanted to focus the last question to something beyond smart contract bugs. Do you guys see any systemic risk in the ecosystem that is coming up, either already exists, like for instance, centralized sequencers on all these L2s, or anything else? I mean, like some people consider even MEV on L2s something like a risk, but that's, you know, like debatable. Or even like the risk V proposal, right? Some people consider those kind of architectural shifts like a huge risk. Might not be, but how do, you know, we as auditors start thinking about, you know, mitigating those risks? And again, this links to I think the third question, which had to do with how do users, how do they even like keep, you know, their awareness of these risks when they come up?
Who wants to start? I don't have any.
We can start with Vlad.
So I think there's a bunch of directions and multiple attack vectors that are pretty scary. Obviously, there's the interface aspect of how you interact with anything that's on chain, right? Whether that's a phone app, web app, everything can be. It's essentially an attack vector and is vulnerable. We see that with a lot of like compromised front ends, even phishing attacks and stuff like that. So which is like on the website, on the web part of things. But there's also the systemic risks associated with like the execution layer, the fact that like 56% or 60% of the clients are basically Geth, and like the rest of the 30% is like I forgot what, and then it's essentially if there's a bug in Geth, it's just like most of the execution clients are fucked, and like what happens then? I think that's a good question, and it's pretty scary. Maybe if we had a more decentralized kind of like client approach where, okay, maximum share of a specific client could be 10% of the resources within a specific chain. Okay, that would be fine. But I think there's a lot of centralization risks and simply very deep systemic risks that we still have to deal with, right? Luckily, there's I think there's the Rust version of basically Reth, yeah, which is gaining some traction. Hopefully, we'll gain enough traction not to replace Geth, because then in that case that would be 60% of standard Geth, but maybe drain a little bit of Geth's market share.
I mean, it was bad a year or 2 years ago. Like Geth was like the there's nothing else than just Geth mostly, but now it improved like a lot. I mean, we have the client diversity. It's a way better than it was before, and I think we are working towards that. It's hard to move completely from Geth, but we have a lot of client diversity now, and we are working towards that. Regarding the question, there is a lot of L2s and new chains that appear every time, and it's hard for you as a user to interact with all of them, to understand them. There will always be centralizations on all of these new chains. Blast was for a long time just a multi-sig guarding 5 billions. You have to stick with, you have to see your appetite for risk and then go from there. There is nothing else. You don't like to risk a lot, stay on it, or stay on Bitcoin if you are like that old. If not, then just go and risk on L2s and so on and so forth.
Okay. So yeah, to shift away from the general, assuming that there is an inherent risk profile in code just because it's newer, I wouldn't necessarily agree. I mean, yes, when something is completely new, sure, but there are a lot of good teams who are putting good development effort, and even a small team with very, very senior engineers can build very, very strong products, and I've had the joy of auditing some of those where I saw really, really good quality, really good workflows, and where I felt stupid because I was auditing code for 3 months and couldn't find anything really severe, coming back to that, I think we should look towards, I really like some recent conversations I've had, and I would love to have some, in general, more about fundamentals of analyzing blockchain. So not talking about, this is so great, this is just, sort of going back to TPS, sort of going back to functionality of blockchain, sort of going back to consensus, because Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has changed a little bit, but Bitcoin has more or less stayed fundamentally the same over the last who knows how many years, right? And it's probably gonna stay the same. And Ethereum is also not really changing. It is more or less abandoned a lot of its major change roadmaps, and it's staying the same. Instead of that, we have fragmentation through L2s and stuff like that. And I'm thinking more about fundamental analysis, because there are more newer projects that are implementing interesting structures, like, okay, DAGs, for example, like we're mostly not even talking about those, although they do have interesting implications for security, for consensus, for stuff like that. Or gas, why would we even have gas? It's just a concept that has stayed in everyone's minds, but recently we can see verifiable transaction ordering as a solution, which provides some better options at the end of the day in terms of throughput, etc., or a possibility for a non-fragmented scalable blockchain. Because at the end of the day, today we have just a lot of fragmentation.
Your comment about gas reminded me of a joke. I'm trying to liven up the room a bit. These guys are really pessimistic. So why does Tesla not use Ethereum? Because they don't want to pay for gas. That's my dad joke for today. Abba?
Hey, I'll keep my answer short, but before giving it, I want to have a bit of explanation. Two of my colleagues were talking about Geth and Ret. As a presumption, those are the Go implementation and the rest of implementation of the node software that actually runs and validates Ethereum. The core underlying issue that they mentioned was if an issue happens with the major client, the network goes down. I just wanted to mention what actually Geth and Ret is. Now, coming back to the question, systemic risk. Besides the entire technical debacle and issues that can appear, what I've been seeing as a possible, I don't know if you can call it systemic risk, but I'm fearing that retail will never actually come. That adoption, retail. Now, adoption is, financial is, institutions are, but not retail. And crypto will exist, blockchain technology will exist. Once I'm thinking it as a risk, as in you're losing the ability to actually retain normal users. That's we haven't managed it now, and we won't I'm not seeing it more layers. How everyone wants to make their own abstraction layer. There's even an abstraction chain, and over it another chain, and we have EVVM, and you have another, and another, and another. It's like that joke of having 10 EDEs, and someone wants to make the one for all and makes the 11th. So that's my fear.
Oh, you want to add something? No.
I would just want to say that maybe we don't need the return to come. Like, why do you need
That's a discussion for
why
another
does my
time.
mother needs to, when she transfers money, for example, what does she needs to know she's using blockchain? Maybe at the bank, behind the scenes, she's using blockchain for transfer the money. But why does my mother needs, as a retailer, to know how to? I'm speaking in the future, not right now. Right now.
But it's really not whether she knows that she's using blockchain. It is whether she is using blockchain. And the fear is that they will not even use it.
Yeah, but maybe I think you are speaking like a geek, exactly like I was like a few years back when I was thinking like, no, everyone should use it because it's the new tech.
No, dude, I don't. I'm a security researcher.
Yeah,
I
doesn't
want to
matter.
go back to the cave.
You think you think like a, like a person of technology. You know what I mean? Versus people who actually they don't care about a lot of this stuff, and maybe we should somehow push towards mass adoption, but without the retailer actually needing to learn what they use in some sort, if it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like knowing about the technology. They just know that maybe it's more safer, and we as a tech, let's say evangelists, we like to push that and make that mass adoption somehow not by forcing them to come into our world.
So,
Yeah, we need to wrap up. We're almost
flame
out
war
of
over.
time. Yeah, basically, thanks a lot to everyone here. We have one question, I think, or multiple questions from the audience. Oh, man.
I'm starting to be very happy that this was the last thing of the day because this one could have gone on for hours still, and I know everybody wants dinner and sleep at one point. So we have a lot of questions. Let's start with the oldest one that actually came in almost 45 minutes ago now. Do you do pro bono audits for projects that you find valuable but cannot afford the bill?
If you can buy me a drink and get me drunk, I will pro bono audit for you on the spot. I've done it before.
I think Alex will love to get you drunk.
I've also done that before in project I think and I liked.
Of course. I think we're all passionate about security and systems in general and thinking through a system. And especially if there's something you like, some audits just go by like, very fast because you just enjoy what you're doing. Think, I would do it.
It's all about the right project, right?
That's how I started in Web3. I doing pro bono because I wanted to invest in products and I didn't want to get wrecked. So I did pro bono work, so I know what to invest to. So yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
So you have it. They would love to work for a beer. So the next one up is 38 minutes ago, just to make sure that we go down the timeline. How much do LLMs make you more productive? At what percentage? Let's start with Abba over here.
It makes me more productive by providing clients to me because they're using LLMs. The more vibe code, the better. Personally, I'm using it as limited as possible because I find that it limits my abstractization abilities. I'm not using it for report generation and I'm not using it for making descriptions. I'm actually thinking about it, and all my juniors, I'm bashing them and whipping them to not use it. Seniors can use it because they have the ability to generate, but I'm not allowing anyone under me to do it. So, 20%.
I wouldn't say I rely on it. It makes me not be a cool programmer that uses a ton of shortcuts, which I was doing before. So it saves my carpal tunnel syndrome a little bit, which I have in both hands, right? Seniority marks. My favorite use of all time, though, was for report generation, because sometimes I would just have a little rant and say that this client is so fucking stupid, they're dumb fucks, they should fire themselves, kill themselves, just ranting all of that to an LLM and then being like, and now write the nicest message possible. And it was emotional work. Metaphorically speaking, I have totally never said on a client call that someone is an idiot.
I think there's a ranging amount of opportunities where to use the LLM in an auditing process. But, most probably, I personally use it for stuff that has to do with coding something really quick, maybe a POC, maybe a testing suite. So as long as you have, let's make it as abstract as possible. As long as you have an item that you have a couple examples of how the result you envision should look like, you might be able to automate that specific item through LLMs, especially if you're doing security research and auditing in general.
I use LLM a lot. I replace Google with ChatGPT search and Perplexity. My terminal has an AI agent in it now. I don't write bash and try to debug bash. I just let the AI agent to solve my bash mean errors for me. I like the LLM to correct my English because I have no time to write correct English for the report generation. But I keep LLM out of my critical thinking and basically the critical work, I keep LLM out of it.
Awesome. Should I answer as well?
Please go ahead, as short as possible.
As short as possible. I typically check the rankings of LLMs, and I use the one that is at the top. Because they change every month, I guess.
So basically depending on which one is more popular with the masses.
No, not popular. They have like this rating that shows you which one is more intelligent.
Well, there's still highly sophisticated algorithms, so yeah. So the next one up is, we're almost down to 40 minutes ago. Actually, this is 39. Can Ethereum still claim to be secure, decentralized if its layer 2 ecosystem grows in ways we cannot easily measure, standardize, or secure collectivity? Let's start with you, Sebastian, on this one. This one is not even on the screen so far down, is it?
You want to take it first, or you want to?
Go ahead, Sebastian.
Yeah, so I think Ethereum as an L1, let me just look at the question again. But Ethereum as an L1 to me seems, one of the most decentralized L1s out there because of the numbers of validators involved, and so on. Of course, you have node operators that are running thousands of nodes, but I think you need a level of centralization if you want to be able to, reach mass adoption, which requires some kind of regulation, financial regulation. You need centralization in some places.
Besides Bitcoin, Ethereum is the second, the most decentralized network out there. It will always be decentralized. There will always be L2 that are centralized. And as I said previously, it's all about your risk, like how risk averse you are. So yeah, there will always be, Ethereum will always be decentralized, but if you go to an L2 that is somehow centralized, you have to take the risks. I do not think it affects Ethereum as core. It's just how you like the risk. For example, the big guys out there, they don't go on L2s because they have a lot of money. They stay on it. But most of the users, they chase the highest yields, which usually means an L2 that is centralized. It's all about the risks and how you manage your risks.
I do agree with you guys with regards to the fact that obviously some L2s have a lot of advantages with the drawbacks that they're more centralized. But obviously, as long as the L2 that you may be using or you want to use has specific features that are crazy in terms of maybe throughput or the cost, the low cost, or whatever, like accessibility in terms of cross-chain messaging and whatnot. And you understand the risks as you said as well. You should just choose whatever you think is safer, and that's probably not necessarily where most liquidity is, but that's probably where you do have maybe you do a little bit of research on the team, and you see that hey, they're doing a complicated thing. They've done audits, they've done contests and whatnot, and they have a good posture in terms of their actual code and the actual security. Even if it's even if they're more centralized than other protocols and have less liquidity in general.
I think I'm not going to give a very particular answer, but I'm just going to say one thing. I don't think decentralization is a key measure. I think decentralization is a means to an end, and the end is censorship resistance. So just keep that in mind when looking at how we're measuring stuff, because these L2s are very heterogeneous. They are very, very different architectures. So in a way, it is a form of censorship resistance. It is good that the L2 ecosystem is growing in bad ways or weird ways. But,
Okay, so I'm just gonna answer the question, yes. The idea is I don't even get why you're putting it one to each other. Ethereum is Ethereum, L2s are L2. The L2 can be as centralized as possible, and Ethereum is still decentralized. So the answer is yes. Still claim the L2 ecosystem can be as opaque, complicated as possible, yes. Because Ethereum is decentralized. If it's L2s, it's irrelevant. Water is wet even if you are on an island.
We can keep on the conversation. There's not many questions to go through. I like that you said yes and then went into a deep conversation about it anyways. Love it. So we're going to start with you on the next question, Avi. I hope that's all right. What are your recommendations on securing the EVM crypto asset? The gold standard used to be Gnosis safe, but they got wrecked, like many of us in the space. What do you use?
Still use the best ones in the market. I mean, what do I use personally as someone in the field? A lot of knowledge. I don't even have an antivirus because I'm paranoid on everything. I should not say that locally, but whatever. The idea is what I use, not common sense, security sense. What can people use? Still use them. They had 1 in a million chance. What's your best option? Are you gonna read the entire whatever, are you going to decompile your own source code? Are you going to reverse? You're a normal user. Use whatever basic tools you can use, and you will have 1 in a million hack. But remember that 1 in a million was a centralized exchange for $1 gazillion. You are not the target. Just use them.
I believe we all agree on this one and can go to the next.
Thank God. Because we still have 2 left, we're gonna jump one because we've already been over LLM, so we don't want to go into that. You're just gonna keep showing about it. So how many researchers consider API that can't be written in Solidity?
I mean, I do Rust.
Do you want to explain it more? What do you mean?
Yeah. Oh, you're a live human. Hello.
Hi. So there's Solidity that compiles to ABI, and there's ABI that you can write that can't be written in Solidity.
Like bytecode.
Like bytecode.
Oh yeah, I analyze bytecode. Yeah.
So sometimes when you're doing like inputs and you're doing variations, maybe this is covered in fuzzing commonly, but
I've had a task, let's say last week, where I was literally analyzing bytecode, just reading straight up Solidity bytecode. So if you have something in particular, I'd actually love to look at it.
Are you auditing this as an input? Is that but are you checking normal contracts using ABI as an input?
Oh, not necessarily. No, mostly focused on the code auditing. When I do bytecode, it's when I need to. It's slower, a lot slower.
You got your answer, yes?
Well, I got one answer.
Well, we still have the other one coming up, don't worry.
No, I mean, but there's other people.
Yeah.
Just a quick answer. The question is very oddly formulated. The ABI is just the interface itself. Whatever the interface can be declared what's on-chain that matters. The entire bytecode on-chain, regardless of the interface, is the one you're actually using. And if the question is how you can just analyze raw, manually written, like in Huff or whatever exotic language bytecode, you can, I personally just decompiled it and looked at it and see the bytecode. There are Heimdall and other good decompilers. The ABI itself, regardless, you can create an invalid ABI that doesn't compile and there isn't any contact that matches to it. It's irrelevant. What actually exists matters. And if you can't map it to an ABI, irrelevant. You have the contact there. You have the code. You can see it.
No, I don't do any.
Yeah, I think it's a very specific kind of research area.
I don't understand the mental model behind the question. Like, what do you exactly mean? Why?
So I'll use buffer overflow as an example. If you're only using the logic of the memory addresses that's present inside C code, then you'll never find a buffer overflow. However, you can send ABI, you can send bytecode to execute that wasn't valid Solidity. So you would never find the parallel, or the equivalent of a buffer overflow if you're only auditing Solidity and you're not auditing how inputs are handled and checked and type safe, and you're just relying upon the inputs being valid. So it's kind of a fuzzing question, right?
It's not. There isn't much you can do here, to be honest, in the crypto here, because the type safe checking and there is a particular thing you can do, attack you can do if the interface allows you, but other than that, I don't think you can actually exploit it too much from my point of view.
Do you have a particular piece of code?
We can break it.
Let's talk later.
So my understanding is that you basically want to do some kind of dynamic testing, and you're asking if auditors typically do like a lot of fuzzing and dynamic.
Any kind of like something beyond Solidity, because there's things you can do not in Solidity.
Yeah. I think like everyone does that. Everyone does. I mean, typically, companies do dynamic testing like fuzzing or something in that direction.
We throw code at bytecode sometimes and see how it responds, because you just if you look down there, you just throw a call to the blockchain and see what it responds to, right? And you can analyze based on that and do some fuzzing based on that bytecode, if I may say. So yeah, you do that, we do that, but it only if client requests, because usually we audit the code before it's deployed, for example, and that's nothing. I mean, you cannot do anything because there is still a long way till it reaches, let's say, the deployed code. You know what I mean? We are hired most of the time to analyze solidity. There are projects who let us analyze, I don't know, all types of like maybe implementations of, you know, low-level code and so on and so forth. But no, not something. Only if I go like exploratory and I want to just crack things out on chain, I do that.
I can almost see like this is gonna go on for hours. Yeah. So I feel like this is a conversation over dinner. You should ask them all out. It might be. They said they'll give a free audit for a beer. So the last one also from Victor over here. Has anyone audited ZK circuit as attack vector?
What do you mean by
Here you go
why?
Sorry. So there's ZK circuits that have valid inputs, but not every input is valid, but can still be proven. There's a series of papers on this. There's like 6 papers on breaking ZK circuits. I'm just wondering, has anybody here audited the actual ZK circuits, or is it just?
So I was part of the hack and Binance proof of reserves audit and some other similar like ZK audits. There are some interesting bugs, mostly in the cryptographic area, but you need specific code to find those bugs. So we'll talk later, okay?
I think that's a good thing because everybody's getting hungry, everybody's getting anxious. Like, this conversation can go on for hours. I can hear they won't let up. So I do want to say thank you for an amazing panel. Before I throw the mic, please, everybody, give a hand to the amazing panel. And now let's get a beer. Let's fucking go.